Okay, it's recording right now. La, da, 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 da. Do you have a theme song?
Usually we use the Family Matters theme song, actually. It's
good.
a rare condition this day and age to read any good news in the newspaper page. Last time on the show we had Meat Canyon, a YouTuber, and me and that guy have been friends for a while, and I thought he likes podcasting and stuff, and we talk about movies and shit.
Sure.
Maybe he'll be a good guest, and I didn't realize that he actually is so established on YouTube that people were angry that the show wasn't just him. That's the double-edged sword with YouTubers, is that you're infringing upon the parasocial relationship.
Okay. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. I was going to say that I watched Looking for Mr. Goodbar at your suggestion recently, and I watched it with my lady love, and we both liked it quite a bit.
Your mom?
Yeah, my mom, my dear sweet mother. We sat down together and we watched Looking for Mr. Goodbar, and I was like, I gotta tell you, it sounds like sort of like an old, like something that women in the 70s would say. Even just the idea too, like when you start reading about the movie and it's like, what's his name? It's not Mel Brooks. Is it Albert Brooks? Who's the guy who directed it? Something Brooks.
Oh, I don't remember. It's not Albert Brooks though.
It's a guy. Last name is Brooks.
Right.
One of these fucking guys.
I can't remember.
L-O-O-K-I-N-G for Mr. Goodbar. We gotta get the fucking director right at least. Richard Brooks.
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
So,
as a kid, I always sort of thought because there was a candy bar called Mr. Goodbar, which was like chocolate and peanuts.
Yeah.
And so I always, as a kid, I just thought it was about she's looking for candy, looking for a candy bar.
Right.
So it sounded like a Willy Wonka sort of rom-com.
Right. And boy, were you ever surprised?
I was disappointed, actually.
It's like a fucking, it's a euphemism for because it's Mr. Goodbar, and I know, I've seen sort of vintage commercials of that candy bar. But, so I knew what it was, but you can kind of vaguely understand that it's because it's Mr. So you're kind of oh, okay, so it's about looking for Mr. Right. That's kind of what the thing means. Right?
And she's always looking for them at singles bars, which was a big deal at the time. That's
another thing too. Yeah. Just what I was getting to before is you're looking at Richard Brooks's sort of synopsis, or not synopsis, but just his explanation or the statements that he's making on the film, and he's I wanted to do a little look into singles bar culture, and I'm singles bar? You mean a bar? What the fuck? What's a singles bar? That's something that you've heard that term before, No, but
that was a thing. It was a thing, late 70s, 80s. I'm going to the singles bar. That was it wasn't I'm going to the bar.
Right.
Singles bar.
I'm looking to fuck.
I guess it was part of the that wave of feminist women were on the pill. Let's go hit the bars and screw guys.
Yeah.
One night stands.
Hey fellas, good news. I'm on the pill. I just put in my diaphragm. I have an IUD. But anyways, it's just funny, just right off the bat, these two sort of cringingly antiquated terms are front and center, Mm-hmm. But the film is about a Catholic woman, who's the star of this thing, and Richard Brooks, a full-on New York Jew, basically writing a movie about a fucking a shiksa, a fucking a non-Jewish woman who is all sexually fucked up they
Well,
have the whole
in a similar way, it's almost like, I guess it's almost like The Exorcist, because it's like in both cases, it's very like very Catholic horror films.
Yeah, but I mean, if you were to just focus on the characters themselves, divorced from the context, I think it's even stated that what's her name, McNeil, the mom, Ellen Burstyn's character, Burgess Meredith in The Exorcist. I think it's even said, there's like a line in the movie where it's like, oh, we're not really that involved in the church, like I guess we're Catholic, but we're sort of non-practicing,
Mm-hmm.
and that to me rings a lot. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, and that to me rings a lot truer to, my Irish mother and my Latino father, who are both, raised Catholic. But
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe in this, these people do come from an earlier era, so it's difficult for me to say this is unrealistic or whatever, or this seems contrived.
Well, it's kind of like a lapsed sort of Catholic. Like it's sort of, you're not watching Diane Keaton sort of follow all the tenets of Catholicism. She's not going to church and, following the Ten Commandments. She's definitely also kind of she's definitely like a feminist character. Like she's definitely like living a single life, living by herself in a big city, trying to find her way on her own, and meeting all these guys, and all the guys in the whole movie, every one of them is completely fucked up. And Her's just kind of like, the only one that's not fucked up is probably LeVar Burton, but everybody else is, at least the ones that she has romantic or semi-romantic relationships with, have something wrong with them.
I don't know. Like, I mean, if we had spent enough time with LeVar Burton, I'm sure like he would have revealed some fucked up
He would have revealed.
What do you think?
That he's blind.
He's blind. He has to wear a fucking an infrared visor over his eyes.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I hear what you're saying. She does like, that is indeed the point of the movie, though, right? Like, she's rebelling, like she's actively rebelling against her family,
right?
But then she's also influenced by the immediate reality around her of like sort of the quote unquote sexual revolution and feminism.
But I think I always like a lot of those 70s type movies where there was this sort of conservatism that was a reaction to the 60s free love hippie stuff. So like something like Death Wish or Exorcist, where it's sort of like, oh, we're just like, this is the new society. Liberalism is running rampant, and let everybody just do whatever they want, and there's no more religion or law and order anymore. And then something happens which makes you feel like, well, maybe law and order is important. Whether or not the director actually believes that, or he's just using that as a story, point, just to get, make like with, say, Friday the 13th, where you have all these teens fucking, and you just create this situation where, like, okay, every time these teens have sex, you just bring in this monster to kill them. I kind of, or like Dirty Harry's another one, where it's just kind of like having these giant moral crusaders come in and clean up the mess that the hippies have made.
What about something a little more?
I enjoy those films.
Oh no, they're great. I mean, those super right wing films, like especially as they creep into the 80s, like the Kinju. What's it called again? Is it called
Kinjite?
Kinjite, the Charles Bronson one, where he hates Japanese people.
Yeah. They're stealing our jobs. Or 10 to Midnight.
10 to Midnight, with just a sexual deviant.
Right.
I guess there's a big sort of out of left field in the third act. sexual deviance shows up in Looking for Mr. Goodbar. But another one that actually is maybe a little more, has sort of like a couple layers of, for lack of a better term, like sort of meta layers over it, is Joe, that movie.
Oh, great movie. Love Joe.
Yeah,
and I only saw that recently, and it really blew me away.
I told you about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I always knew of it, but I guess, a movie called Joe, how good could it be? It's such a
exactly.
like just the title, just like always never. I saw the box at the video store, and I was just like, I'm never going to watch a Joe movie.
Tell our 60 listeners what Joe is about.
It's like this conservative, old-fashioned Archie Bunker type of guy, played by Peter Boyle, Borel, who
Peter Borel. Borel.
And he somehow like just he decides to go on some sort of night on the town where he just has this great time with some dude that he meets at a bar, some conservative dude, and then they just kind of like go to hang out with hookers and stuff, and then they decide to go on a hippie killing spree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the movie actually starts with the conservative guy, who I believe is like if it's not the guy from Caddyshack, like
it's not Ted Knight,
but he has that exact same vibe, like just that sort of like hard ass, like Korean War vet waspy kind of thing going on, and he kills Susan Sarandon, which is his daughter, the fucking
My Bodyguard,
the white hair waspy guy. Say what?
She's dating the guy from My Bodyguard.
Oh, is it really him?
Adam,
is that him?
Adam something. He's in Full Metal Jacket too.
Right. I don't know are you sure that it's him?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, we'll go with that. So he ends up because I feel like I would have noted.
We'll be getting email from our listener.
Yeah. We'll be getting an email from like my mom. So he ends up going over to like Susan Sarandon's hanging out with My Bodyguard, and she's doing drugs, and she's going down a bad path, and then the fucking Caddyshack guy ends up killing him, and then he goes into a bar, and just sort of all discombobulated, he ends up confessing to sort of this loudmouth bigot named Joe, who's played, as you mentioned before, by Peter Boyle.
Borel.
And Borel, Borax. And this confession kind of, it almost like links them together because the fucking Caddyshack guy almost feels like he's being blackmailed into hanging out with Joe.
Oh, right, yeah.
But Joe doesn't really take it that way. Joe's just kind of like, nah, like you're like, we both hate hippies and we both hate black people and Jews and everyone who a guy like me who would hate.
But it's also sort of like it's like high and low class, racist, conservative bigots being like forced together in sort of like this odd couple pairing where like the rich guy's kind of like, I don't want anything to do with Peter Borel. He just fucking he's like a real degenerate. I'm nothing like him, but Peter Boyle actually feels like, oh, we're bros, like you and me, like against the world. We hate hippies, like you said.
Yeah, and then they end up, and then as you said, they end up going on a little fucking night on the town together where they go, and they hang out with hookers and stuff. And
don't they do drugs too? Like, don't they like do some drugs? they actually have like a full Haight-Ashbury experience.
Right.
Before then they finally decide to go on a hippie murder spree.
Yeah. They kind of indulge. Like Joe's never been around, like Joe's, we get to see Joe's life, and he's just eating at like a Formica table with his fucking busted ass wife. And then he goes to hang out in kind of like a hippie lair. And he's hanging out with like hot young girls, and like, if he's not doing drugs, I'm not sure that they do drugs. I feel like they're at the very least getting drunk. Mm-hmm. But in any case, after they kind of like, you know, like reap the comforts of like the hippie life, they end up just going on a killing spree and just killing them all, right. Which is pretty satisfying. It actually it just made me remember the fucking there's a really unintentionally funny TV like ABC movie of the week from like I believe the very early 80s, like 82 or something, called it's like cocaine and then colon and then
cocaine colon
cocaine bear cocaine colon. No, it's cocaine
that's a sequel.
Colon and then it's like, you know, one man's struggle or something, and it's one of those Dennis Weaver TV movies. Uh-huh. I love Dennis Weaver, man. Dennis Weaver fucking kicks so much ass.
Yeah, you mentioned one of his films with Sally Struthers. Was that?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, but it sounded good.
Oh, yeah, it's so funny. It's just him kicking the living bejesus out of Sally Struthers for like the entirety of the fucking film.
Did you ever see The Night Caller, which is another TV movie with Robert Reed? Did I mention that to you before?
Oh, no, I have watched that. That movie's fucking hilarious. Yeah, he's just calling up, and the woman's just like, "Stop! What are you?" Like, she's on the phone, she won't hang up. She's like, "Get out of here! Stop calling me!" And
my favorite scene, though, I don't want to reveal too much, but it's at the end when he's in therapy, or he's going to see a psychiatrist, and he's like telling him the weird shit that he does. It's fantastic.
The another really great Dennis Weaver film is one called. This one I recommend above all others is called Bluffing It. Okay. And it's about Dennis Weaver. He plays kind of like a sort of like a not upper management, let's say like a lead hand at a factory of some sort.
Okay.
And it turns out that he's never learned to read his entire life. He's never learned to read. Yeah. And so the whole movie is just him being like you know, "Hey Leo, come over here. I left my glasses in the car. Can you read this for me? Show me what this says." Like, he's just constantly coming up with like ways to get people to read stuff for him. Or like he'll have to fill out a form at the DMV or something, and he's like, "You know, if I did this, it would just look like a chicken walked all over it. Would you mind doing this for me?" And the lady's like, "Fine." And then he goes. My favorite part, I quote this all the time, is he goes to some restaurant with his daughter, and it's like a fancy restaurant, right? And he flips to the menu and he just puts it down. He's like, "Just give me the hamburger." And it's like, "Sir, we don't have a hamburger."
I like how the daughter, the daughter who's lived with him her entire life has no idea he can't read. Like that's they've never gone to a restaurant before.
The only person that he shares this shame with is his wife,
and he starts blackmailing.
No, there's some really funny parts where he's like, "You don't want me to learn how to read. You want to hang this over my head." And then he grabs her and he's like forcibly like trying to force her to teach him how to read. And she's like, "Lou, you're hurting me," you know. And it's just like, and then eventually like this whole thing happens where he gets into this car accident and he runs to a payphone. And the operator's like, "Do you see any signs around you?" Like because he ends up losing his job and having to become a truck driver, and he memorizes the signs like kind of, I get, how would you say that? Like he memorizes the signs just by like the shapes of the letters, but not actually what the things say. Like, he's like, "Okay, so I'm looking for." He just kind of it's kind of the same way that you would do with Chinese. Like you just kind of you're comparing them and kind of like, okay, that thing's there, that thing's there. Uh-huh. But anyways. He has like some big fucking shameful moment where everyone finds out, and then finally he ends up having to just like admit to everyone that he can't read, and then he ends up taking like an adult learning class and everything.
But it would have been funny if he started like dating like some kid in like middle school, and the kid, and he's like sneaking into her backpack, looking through her spelling books, trying to. Anyway. Yeah. I like that idea. I like that idea where he becomes a pedophile to learn how to read. Exactly.
But back to Looking for Mr. Goodbar with Diane Keaton and Peter Borrell. There's all the guys in the movie are like you got Richard Gere, who's just kind of like your typical stereotypical fucking shithead.
It's like a Chad.
He's like a Chad, like a Dago Chad, like an Italian kind of like a John Travolta,
like a fuck boy.
Yeah, an Italian fuckboy.
I think any Richard Gere movie, the roles could have been played by John Travolta.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then you have the guy from Ghostbusters, the fucking
the politician guy.
No, he's from like the environmental protection.
Yeah,
agency.
whatever, the government guy. That's what I meant.
He works for the fucking welfare board in Mr. Goodbar.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's also in Day of the Locust with, again, Burgess Meredith. It always goes back to Burgess Meredith. Did you ever see that one?
Yeah. I've never seen Day of the Locust. What's that about?
It's based on the book. It's about Hollywood in the 40s, I think. Karen Black. It's an okay movie. It's worth watching for Donald Sutherland. He's just really good in it.
Does he pull out his cock?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll be putting that on the list then. Back to before I keep going about the EPA guy from Ghostbusters. Another thing that I should have mentioned too is that along with just sort of the external factors of like feminism and like sexual revolution and civil rights and all the exciting things going that I guess had just happened. They were kind of like maybe just starting to kind of like the excitement was just starting to cool off in like the early 70s. That's what, 72, Mr. Goodbar?
Sounds right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sort of like a post sort of 60s summer of love.
77. It's way after.
Like assessment of, where are we at?
Where we at? Oh, it's okay. So the book was published in 1975. Did you know that it's based on a true story? It's based on like sort of the murder of some broad in New York who just was a single who just got murdered, by just some random guy, and it was supposed to be published in Esquire magazine, but Esquire didn't want to publish it because they felt like it was kind of going against the sort of feminist ethos, like. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, you girls maybe shouldn't be going out and fucking everybody,
right.
Like they were like, we don't really want to publish that. So she ends up doing a novel instead. And the writer of this novel, probably should mention her name. It's Judith Rossner. Mm-hmm. I'm just looking on the tab here. She actually hated the film, which is interesting. I don't really know why. I couldn't really find. I mean, I didn't really do that much research. I did maybe about like 5 seconds of research, mm-hmm. But I would imagine that it has a lot to do with how Tom Berenger's character is portrayed. Because in fact, it's never. There's no indication that the real murder had anything to do with sort of some guy who's not, who's like sexually confused, or he's a gay guy that's self-loathing and doesn't want to be gay. Like there's nothing of that nature in the real case.
Okay.
And I guess that it wouldn't be reflected in the book either if it wasn't in the real case, because I think this woman Judith Rossner was trying to keep it as true crime as possible, mm-hmm. and not like adding in any stuff of her own. So maybe this Richard Brooks fella just kind of thought to himself like, oh, I'm gonna fucking address this thing that's been on my mind as well, and just kind of make this character.
Well, also, he probably saw who the real killer was, and he was probably like, this guy's fucking boring as hell, and he's like, I need to come up with something that's going to make this a fucking entertaining movie that people are going to want to see.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it definitely adds like almost Silence of the Lambs kind of thing, mm-hmm. Just sort of. I mean, that scene's actually fucking terrifying. Like after he does the popper and everything, and you're just kind of like, uh-oh, and she's trying to be like, all right, one drink, but then it's good night, okay, mm-hmm. Another time maybe, like, and then he won't leave, and then like, and it's actually the first time. I think it's the first time that you ever just see her completely stripped naked. because every time that she has sex in the film, she's always. It's weird. Like she's having sex with Richard Gere, but she's like leaving her sweater on. She's just taking her pants and underwear off. And when she has sex with that weird professor guy in the beginning, the one who she loses her virginity to, she's still basically clothed, and like it's almost like she's just being ravaged, like at the end by Tom Berenger. I think that's actually a very wise decision, like to kind of just bare her completely, like just treat like it's almost like treating her like an animal or something. Like it really is with a big capital O, objectifying her, and that's I think what makes it so shocking. Well, that's part of what makes it so shocking. It's pretty fucking powerful. Like,
what did you think of Tom Berenger in general compared to like
The Substitute?
Well, either The Substitute or Betrayed.
Oh yeah. Well, have you seen Betrayed yet?
I just started it the other day, and
okay.
So don't tell me anything. But I do feel like Berenger is best when he's playing like real, either a psychopath or like something nasty. Like he's better as a bad guy than I feel like as a good guy.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Like I found him to be terrifying in Looking for Mr. Goodbar, but in Betrayed, I find him to be like really charming. Like there's a part where he's hitting on the undercover FBI agent in like his local bar, and it's just his sort of like good old boy kind of thing that he's doing. I think is like this fucking Tom Berenger fellow is charming the pants off.
No, I'm not saying that he's bad when he's playing a good guy. I'm just saying that he's at his best when he just looks like somebody who's going to kill you.
Yeah, that is true. But well, the only thing I can really say about that is that the role that he plays in Goodbar is pretty minor in the grand scheme of things. You know, like you don't really get.
But it's still like when I haven't watched the movie in a few years, and I remember him more than like when you were like, oh, Richard Gere's in this too, and I forgot Richard Gere was in it. I remember Tom Berenger was in it. Like he really like even this, that just goes to show you, even the smallest performance can have a big impact.
There you go, buddy. This is why we listen to these podcasts for little sound bites like that. Like I guess ironically you were kind of being like, yeah, you know, it's a feminist movie that's written by like a white man, or isn't it funny how the best feminist movie was written by a white man or something like that. So it's hard to kind of relate personally. Like you can watch this movie and you can empathize with her. But I actually found myself, I think that probably most men that watch that movie will empathize with the Ghostbusters guy.
See, I found him to be the most, like I found him the most interesting, but also the most disturbing, because out of all the guys, he's the one who sort of like he's the nice guy. Yeah. And he's the nicest of all the guys she meets, but there's still something about him that makes him feel creepier than all the other guys. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I just remember feeling like this guy's fucked up. Like he's a special kind of fucked up. Like he's a kind of like a nice guy, manipulator, that kind of dude. Like he's gonna come in and white knight her. So to me, he was like one of the more complex and interesting of all the men, the crazy men that she was dating, the most unassuming. Like
a guy like that. Maybe this is just me projecting, but it's kind of like he'll be like this nice guy, and he'll do like, I mean, how does he meet her at the first point where we meet him in the film? He works for the welfare committee or welfare service, and he ends up, hearing her, passionately, demanding that this poor black girl doesn't get her welfare cut off, so that she can continue going to deaf school and also have her own hearing aid. Right? And this guy, this guy drives Teresa, is her name? Yeah, Teresa. He drives Teresa home. And then as she's getting out of the car, he's like, look, I want to see you again. And he's like, yeah, maybe you will. See you, buzz off or whatever. And then she leaves. And then next thing you know, the little girl, the black girl is at school and she's got a hearing aid, So this guy has pulled some strings and he's made it happen, but entirely for Teresa. This will make her happy. And indeed it does. And it earns her, it earns him an invitation to, oddly, and my girlfriend pointed this out, because she doesn't invite him out to dinner. Mm-hmm. She invites him over to her house, and they have dinner with her family. So he's meeting the dad and he's meeting the brother, and the dad loves him because he studied to be a priest. This is something that's, I don't know if you remember that from the film.
No, I don't remember that.
It's like, yeah, he was in fucking priest school for a while, and eventually he realized he didn't want to do it. But the father is treating him so much better than she's treating Tuesday Weld's boyfriend, who is a Jew. And again, this is sort of the director coming through again, just being like, look at this fucking guy. All he cares about is Catholic. He doesn't care about the nature of someone's character. Mm-hmm. Look how he treats this Jew, even though he's taking care of his daughter like this. Back to the Ghostbusters guy, he goes around and he, as you just said, he white knights her and he kind of swoops in and helps her out, but he never really helps her out. He doesn't ever defend her from Richard Gere. It's actually Richard Gere who comes in and sort of kicks out some weird old gross guy who she brings home at one point.
Right.
But he does. I mean, in the very end too, on New Year's, she ends up bringing home Tom Berenger, and the fucking Ghostbusters guy just kind of watches it happen, and then he's just kind of like, fuck this, and he just leaves. When it comes down to actually standing up to another man about anything, he's never going to do it.
Right.
This is the kind of guy who, if he managed to get a fucking, a ring on her finger, and kind of lock her down, I feel like he would just be like a emotional vampire, like an emotional parasite that would just drain her, and then eventually the sort of the life and vitality that kind of is exuding from her and that attracts him, after he's kind of latched onto that and he's kind of sucked it all away, and then all he's left is sort of this husk of a woman that doesn't shine brightly anymore. And then he looks at her and he's like, what happened to you? What happened to you? And it's, meanwhile, he can't even fathom that it was him that drained her like that. That's right. That's a very common thing for any guy to do, especially kind of between the ages of 25 and 35. That's a real common thing.
Did you ever see Fanny and Alexander?
No, I don't know what that is.
It's one of Bergman's last movies.
Oh, no shit.
And it's sort of what you're just saying, this woman's married, she's got kids, and they're having this really happy life. I don't remember why. I think the husband dies or something. So, there's lots of guys coming along to court her, and she hooks up with one dude who basically does what you just said. Yeah.
This is also the reason why I liked the movie Midsummer, is because it talks about staying with a girl just because you're too much of a coward to break up with her, and because you just don't want to.
I don't remember.
Go on.
They talked about that shit. Well, what?
Oh, that's the entire relationship between what's his face and the girl and the main girl. It's I
remember
the guy's about to break up with her, but then there's this crazy tragedy where she, her entire family gets her sister kills herself and then brings the parents along with her. It's a fucking,
yeah, I remember that part.
Yeah, and then so the guy. Well, mere minutes before, the guy's like, yeah, guys, I don't know. I don't really want to, she doesn't want to fuck anymore. I think I'm thinking about breaking up with her. But then after that tragedy happens, he just doesn't have the courage to break up with her. It's oh, she needs me now. And he ends up staying with her, even though nothing's changed, he still realizes that there's no future and that he's not really that interested in her, but he just stays kind of, and he tells himself he's doing it for her, I'm doing it for her, but really it's like, you're not really doing anything for her. You're just afraid of, number one, you're afraid of you're afraid of the blowout that it's going to cause and the guilt. And then number two, it's a bad look. Like, that word's going to get around campus and no other girls are going to want to fuck you because of how shitty you were. Oh, did you hear about that? He broke up with her like during that? Like, what a fucking asshole, like it's all completely motivated by selfishness, I guess. And
it is quite a pickle, though. I mean, it's almost like a Curb Your Enthusiasm moment where it's just kind of like, oh, I wanted to break up with this person, but they keep having these horrible tragedies, and I feel guilty about abandoning them. Yeah, I feel for the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not an ideal situation, but from sort of a distant observer, you can see kind of like the problem with him staying with her, right. Or at least maybe if it's like, I don't know. That's one of those situations where there's not really a good answer.
Either way, you're fucked. You're fucked.
Yeah,
your life is over.
But anyway, yeah. But I was just saying that I like movies that kind of will like. That's really I'm sure that kind of fucking, because you mentioned that Bergman movie that talks about the thing I was saying about like sort of emotionally developing sort of like an emotionally parasitic relationship with a woman, and. So like and I'm sure that there's been movies before about kind of like not breaking up with someone, or rather continuing a relationship just out of like guilt or fear or something like that. There's been lots, but I guess I've never, that aspect of Midsummer, I was like, oh damn, I've been that kind of coward before, like probably a few times, and I'm so stupid and so like unable to sort of identify my own feelings that I've been completely unaware that I've been doing that, So like I have to give it up to that movie because that's really what you want to get ideally. Like that's kind of the S tier.
But what's interesting is like you're bringing up this very interesting story point, but ultimately that's not like. So all these people are going to be running. Oh, I've got to see that movie because it's about this guy who wants to break up with this girl, but he can't. And that's not what the movie's about. Like there's like, in fact, like I don't even. It's just not. That's not what that movie is about.
I mean, fair enough, man. I mean, like I respect that opinion. So yeah, whatever. I guess we kind of talked about fucking Goodbar. There's only like the three guys. The White Knight, the fucking fuckboy, and then the closeted.
There's the teacher. There's the guy from Ghostbusters, Richard Gere, Tom Berenger, and LeVar Burton.
Geordie LaForge.
And then the old guy that Richard Gere kicks out.
Well, okay, let's talk about the Killer Kids movie then. Attention, les enfants regardant or whatever. Look out, the children are watching.
Right.
This was what's his name again? Like Alain
Delon
or something.
Delon.
Or Alain Delon, the recently deceased French acting powerhouse. I'm not very familiar with the films that he's made. I guess that's a blind spot for me. You seem to be pretty taken by his.
Oh man, it's just like
shit.
It's amazing the amount of great work that he's done.
Keep talking. I have to go shut up my phone, but my headphones are in, so I'm listening. I'm right here. Keep talking.
Circle Rouge, Any Number Can Win, Rocco and His Brothers, Unvanquished, The Fly. Isn't he in The Fly?
He's in The Fly, like the original one, or the fucking the Jeff Goldblum one?
No, the original one.
Oh fuck! I have no fucking clue.
You never saw that?
I have seen it, but I don't hold it in very high regard, just because the remake is so much better, in my opinion. Oh, look at that. My cat's been very sick, just as an aside. Both of my cat's kidneys failed, so like I have to like, a big thing in the house right now is like figuring out how to inject 40 cc's of like saline solution subcutaneously into this cat every day. And the cat, we have to like figure out how to do it, because obviously the cat doesn't like it, and we've managed to distract her by giving her food and then doing it kind of secretly, but she's caught on to that now, and now she knows that whenever she gets this food coming to her, she's like, oh fuck, it's time for that fucking shit, you know? And
like you have to inject her with a needle.
Oh yeah, dude, like it's 40 cc's, so it's like, imagine like a big ass plunger, full of liquid, 4 of those, you know?
Wow.
And it sucks. It's like, and if we don't do this, like she's just gonna like go downhill like immediately.
Explode.
She's just gonna explode all over the wall. But I'm gonna take her. Today I just can't figure out how to do it, so I'm just gonna have to take her to the vet and just be like, you guys do it. And then maybe they can offer me some kind of like drug that I can give her that, you know, knocks her out. Anyways, it fucking sucks. Do you have any pets at your house?
No.
Do you not like pets?
Other people's pets are fine.
Huh. I guess you have a kid.
Yeah, a kid is my pet.
Well, the thing about a kid that's good is that they usually outlive you, you know?
Right.
And to have I had a cat die on me one time, and I guess you just get fucking attached to these fucking things, and then when they die, you feel so fucking sad, and you're just like, why the fuck did I even, what was the point of all that, you know? Like, what was the point of all that? At least with a kid, you can kind of like pass on sort of like teachings and information, and you can kind of like watch them grow into like a person, I guess, theoretically. And then you're dying, and you're kind of like, well, you know, at least I didn't have to go through the sadness of watching this kid of mine die. But with pets, it's like a foregone conclusion. Like, they're going to die before you, you know? And
not necessarily. You could have a pet and you die, and then who takes care of the pet?
That's true. My dad has a bunch of birds that are probably going to just turn into skeletons in their cage.
Right.
Like, after he's just going to be like, oh, cool, someone can make a wind chime out.
You hear all the time of like somebody dying, and now we got to find a home for Kitty.
Or the cat eats the dead body in the house.
Right, and then you have to bring the human eating cat into somebody else's house. now that they have a taste for human flesh.
Yeah. Do you remember the fucking Two Evil Eyes, the one with the Harvey Keitel one, the black cat?
Oh yeah. I feel like I watched that recently, but that was pretty bad. I can't remember much about it.
You have to make the distinction that there are actually 2 films in that, and one of them is that George Romero film that's like maybe one of the worst things he's ever made, the one that's like the strange case of Dr. Voldemort or some shit, where it's that guy who hypnotizes the old man, and then he dies while he's in hypnosis, and then like and Adrienne Barbeau's in it. Do you remember this?
No. And I know I saw it.
Yeah. It's because that I actually remember talking to you about this.
Yeah.
And that one fucking sucked.
It did suck really hard. And even isn't Dario Argento's the second one? Isn't that the Harvey Keitel one?
Yeah.
Ugh, so bad.
Well, this is news to me, because you said that it was okay last time. Maybe you're conflating the two.
Maybe I just remember Harvey Keitel like walking around some sort of boarding house. That's all I remember. It's not a good sign.
I don't know. I think the fucking the Dario Argento one is actually one of definitely like no debate at all the best American thing he's ever done. Like the best like thing he's ever done with like American. Like in America, like shot in New York City kind of thing. I know there's not very many of them, but like I think is there one called like Trauma or something like that was shot in America with American actors? Forget.
I mean, he's shot stuff with American actors before. in Italy, but I don't know which ones he's done in America. I have no idea.
I think it's Trauma, Dario, not Fario, Dario. Argento.
I guess I also feel like I've seen better versions of that Poe story. First he kills the cat, then he kills his wife, then he buries her in the basement or something, and then the police, it's kind of like the Telltale Heart, but with cats. So then the police come over and they're kind of like, hey, where's your wife? And he's like, I don't fucking know. She left. And then all of a sudden there's a cat. You hear the cat meowing and they're like, what's that? And he's like, and then they follow the sound of the cat and the cat leads them right to the dead wife.
But anyways, back to this fucking, whatchamacallit movie. The one about the kids.
Attention, who's watching the kids?
Attention, the kids are watching.
Oh, kids are watching.
Yeah. So you said you thought it was okay, and mostly you told me that you thought it was okay, but not the best thing. Why don't you elaborate a little bit upon that?
I just thought it was the kids weren't very interesting characters. It was almost like if Alain Delon was on the screen, things were interesting. When he was gone, it wasn't as interesting. So, and most of the movie is following those kids around. And not that I hated the kids or disliked the kids, I just wasn't really charmed by any of them.
Fair enough. I did like the oldest girl.
She's actually the great granddaughter of the painter Renoir.
Oh, no shit.
And I think she's like grandniece of the director Renoir. Huh. So she's like real pedigree.
She's a nepotism baby.
Nepo baby, like French Nepo baby.
All right. I don't know. I thought like I liked the character. I mean, I thought the actress was pretty good.
No, she was good. I guess I wanted more sort of malevolence from Alain Delon. Like I wanted one of the kids to actually get hurt real bad. I wanted something really, because I'm never really on the side of the kids. I'm on the side of Alain Delon. Like the kids are jerks. They're portrayed as jerks and nasty, and they kill the nanny, and so you don't really, I don't really sympathize with them. I don't really like them. So I'm kind of feeling like, okay, Alain Delon's coming in he's stepping in as sort of the surrogate father, and he's going to like teach them a lesson that they'll never forget. But he kind of...
Can you clarify for me, like, why, like, because he's like, hey, I saw you guys push your maid out into the water, and I could call the cops if I wanted to, so I'm just going to move into your house, and then I'm going to drink the beer in your fridge and eat your cupboards bare. Like, that seems like a weird thing for, like, a guy to do, as opposed to just, like, I don't know, like, fucking...
just like run rampant through the house, take what he needs, and then leave. Like move on. Like there was this.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to moving in. I'm going to be your dad for a little while. That's what I'm going to do.
But I felt like you don't even get that. Like I wanted, like okay, they're creating this crazy situation where Alain Delon is just kind of like moving in and taking over the house, and you kind of wanted him to kind of teach him a few life lessons while he was there. But he doesn't really do that either. He's not there really long enough or engaging with them long enough to do any of that. So in those ways, the movie felt a little bit like a letdown. Like I wasn't getting that from the Alain Delon character, and I never really felt like I was ever on the side of the kids.
Right.
I didn't feel like, oh, the kids, they learned their lesson. Like I didn't even feel that either. Like it was almost like all this stuff happened, and I didn't feel like anything really had changed all that much.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that you keep referring to them as just the kids, like as a unit. I guess I saw more of a I saw them as individuals a little more. Like the older girl is kind of just this girl who like wants to be like, she's the oldest, and she kind of has just always been in the like the leader's position in the house.
Right.
Like she's the one, like, and see that
she's definitely the most evil. Like she's sort of the ringleader, and the other three kind of sort of just go along with what she says. Well,
the second oldest, the boy, I think that actually is our supposed to be our protagonist to some degree. Like,
but he still never he still goes along with everything she says. He never really stands up to her and like makes some sort of moral, like takes a moral stand against what she's doing. Like he just kind of like goes with the flow. Okay, we're not going to call the cops. Okay, whatever you say. Okay, we're gonna push the maid in the water. Okay. Now we're going to shoot Elaine Delon. Okay, so he's towing the line, all along the way. He never diverges.
The way I see it is more like he is, I guess at the end of the day, he is towing the line, but he tries to do, like, he loves his sister, right? Like that, it's sort of just like, well,
I'll say,
I have to just, I just I gotta do what my sister says, like above everything. She's my sister, and I have to back her up, like he has this sense of familial honor or something, or I'm not pretty sure that a little kid wouldn't use that kind of language to talk about it, but like,
right.
But he loves his sister, and he's behind her, and he backs her with whatever she does. But he also kind of gets that she's kind of bad, and like, because you see, like when they dump the nanny in the water early on in the film, he's the one who jumps in to try to save her. Like I think that in his heart he's like the good kid. I don't know. I just feel like this is a kid who if he just didn't have that fucking sister, he probably would be like a lot.
What did you think of when the girl tries to seduce Elaine Delon, and Elaine Delon just kind of looks at her and she's just kind of like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Get the fuck out of here.
I found that part to be the most tense part of the whole movie.
Right.
Like the most I guess challenging in a sense, because it's like, because this kid comes through, and you're just like, oh God, like how, which way is this going to spin?
But in a way, it's almost like it made Elaine Delon. It made his character, like he even had more of a moral backbone than the kids do. Like he's presented with this situation, because they could have easily done that same scene with him, like she's coming in and she's like, oh, I really think you're handsome, and then he just kind of like, oh really, and then like leaning in to start kissing her, and then
he's drunk or something.
Yeah, and then the other kid could have come in and shot him the same way, but they make a deliberate moment of him saying, get away from me. I have no interest in you at all.
Yeah.
And then, and after that, then the kid comes in and, does his thing.
Yeah.
And that, again, makes you like, oh, Lane Delon's actually, he's kind of a nice guy. Like he's kind of like, he's got a little bit more of a moral compass than these kids do. And so again, you're still feeling like, I still don't like these kids. I like Elaine Delon. Like Elaine Delon seems like a nice guy. These kids are still pieces of shit. So at the end when, it's or I guess Risky Business is sort of another kind of like kid at home doing what he wants to do. Things get crazy, and you feel like he goes through something and he experiences something about life. He comes out the other end a different person. Here, you don't really get that sense.
Well, but I think that might even be like one thing that is, right there being pushed in your face throughout the entire film is like this, sort of proto critique of like the media. Like they keep showing like the movies the kids are watching on TV, and it's like gangster movies and people shooting machine guns. It's all like crime and fucking violence and stuff. And it's kind of like, it's pretty clear what the message there is. It's like, oh, these kids, they've been desensitized because of all the fucking trash they're watching on the fucking idiot box, and this and that, this kind of fucking idea. And then that sort of that ending where, the four kids kind of make it through this. I really love the scene where they drive his car, Alain Delon's car,
to the cliffs.
Yeah, and they have the bikes in the back. Like this to me is like good. Like the fact that the fucking nanny didn't hang on to the raft. It's like, what the fuck is what the hell kind of logic is that, right?
Well, she is Spanish, so
right. She's.
They don't understand.
Mío.
They don't understand inflatable technology.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's also just the ludicrous prospect that this guy would just live at their house for. I
wanted kids on a rampage, and Alain Delon is the guy that comes in and teaches these fucking whippersnappers a lesson. That's what I wanted. I didn't get it, so I'm mad.
He's Damon Wayans from Major Payne.
Yeah.
He's Major Payne
from Blank Man.
So they have the bikes in the back, and that showed me like not just good foresight from like the characters, but also good foresight in terms of like the screenwriting. Just kind of like, okay, like this has been figured out, like how they're gonna do this, how they're gonna pull this off. It's also something that kids would be able to come up with. Mm-hmm. It's not too complicated. How if I were to do that movie over again, if I were to like remake that movie or something, or I would just have one of the kids get seriously hurt or even die, but like as a result of like maybe the fat kid. As the result of just them kind of like not having any supervision, like maybe
something like they don't even really get hurt. Like there's other than like the kid like scraping his arm on the window. Like like I wanted there to be some kind of like serious consequence to what they did, and there really isn't.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that the ending, maybe it's a little bit of a fucking. I'm making a jerk off gesture right now to the listeners. Maybe it's a little bit of this kind of ending.
We'll put sound effects on the slide whistle.
Right. But anyways, where the kids are like the final scene of the film, the kids are riding their bikes out of the courtyard or whatever, like the sort of the gate that encloses the house, and the three kids exit. The three oldest kids exit, and the youngest kid kind of like stops and kind of like looks back into the lens of the camera, and then credits roll, and the very ham-fisted implication is like like what kind of trauma are they going to carry into their adulthood?
A superior killer kid movie or a bad kid movie is Don't Deliver Us from Evil. Do you know that one?
Terrible title. I've never seen it.
Really?
Look it up.
It's very good.
Tell me about it.
It's Spanish, 70s.
That's why the title sucks.
70s, two teenage girls just kind of fucking do whatever the fuck they want to do.
You know what? While we're here, I saw, just by complete coincidence, that you were involved in writing the Looney Tunes movie, the Day the World Exploded, or something like that. What the hell? What the hell was that all about? How did you get involved with? Tell me about that whole thing, because it looks like there's 10 writers.
Yeah,
and like. So, I mean, like, did you just do a pass of the script? And who the hell thought to get you to do it?
Well, I did. I worked on Looney Tunes, the show. Like, the most recent Looney Tunes cartoons that are now on HBO Max. I wrote all those, or I helped write all those. So, and the director or the guy that was running the show, after the end of the show, he was given this movie project, Daffy and Porky movie, and they had one version of the script, and I just did a pass on it.
Huh. And at what stage? Like
it was very early on. I remember the script being very, that sort of Pixar formula of it was more of an adventure movie, like, hey, we're friends, all the two friends. We gotta stop the alien invasion, and then there's like a big boss battle at the end,
right?
And
like their friendship is tested, and then at the end they kind of come together and they realize that like, oh, it's actually our differences that give us strength.
So I kind of went through the script and was trying to, because that's not a very Looney Tunes. That approach is not a very Looney Tunes approach. Like I was sort of thinking, like when they were first talking about doing a movie, I was thinking something more along the lines of Buñuel's Phantom of Liberty, which is just kind of like these set pieces, these weird set pieces, and then somebody in this scene leaves the scene and then walks down the street and then suddenly is in another scene, and then that scene, somebody leaves that scene and it goes off into the next. So it's just like all these kind of like weird, random, crazy scenes that are just kind of linked together through these characters, and that felt more in line with like the sort of wacky Looney Tunes world, and
yeah.
So I tried to go through it and try to, and also like the script was always like the two characters like constantly talking about their friendship. Like, how's our friendship doing? Are we still friends? I thought you were my friend. Come on, we've been friends for so long. Just like constant with the fucking friendship. You watch those old Looney Tunes cartoons. There's no friendship. There's no friendship.
No, they hate each other.
Yes, and that's what makes them good. So, so I tried to do a friendship-ectomy, pull all the friendship out. Of course, they hated that. I'm sure they put it all right back in. But I tried my best to keep the characters sort of like funny and more sort of argumentative and yelling at each other. Like we were just watching Desperate Living, the John Waters movie, the other night, and just it's really funny, and I'm really struck by like the whole movie is just people constantly screaming and yelling at each other. Like there's no sort of like even keeled conversation or rational conversation. It's just people constantly yelling and screaming, just like a fucking cartoon. And that's what makes those Looney Tunes cartoons so great. It's just like constant fighting and battling. And I tried to put as much of that back into the script as I could, but that was very, very early on. And I'm sure the other 9 people that helped write it, I'd be surprised if anything that I wrote is in it. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that the way the closest that you get to like friendship in Looney Tunes, like I'm thinking of like Rabbit season, Duck season, and then you introduce like Elmer Fudd, and the closest thing you get to friendship is just Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny teaming up, like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Like that's about as close to friendship as you get in Looney Tunes,
right?
Like getting together to take on a common foe.
Well, like remember that one where it's the old one with Little Red Riding Hood, and Little Red Riding Hood is bringing Grandma a rabbit. She's got a rabbit in her basket. Of course, the rabbit is Bugs Bunny, and so
right.
So the wolf sees rabbit. He runs into the grandma's house, kicks grandma out or whatever, and then
he doesn't eat her. He's like, get out of here, get the fuck out of here.
And he puts on the outfit, grandma outfit, and then Red Riding Hood is incredibly annoying. She kicks Red Riding Hood out. It's like, okay, I'm going to eat the rabbit. Then the whole cartoon is just like Bugs and the wolf chasing each other and beating each other up, and then finally at the end, he's got the wolf he's got like a shovel full of hot coals onto the wolf, who's like balanced on two chairs, and he keeps throwing stuff into the wolf's arms to like weigh him down so his ass will hit the hot coals.
Classic.
And so he's just about to put one more thing, like a leaf, on top of the pile so that the wolf would finally collapse onto the hot coals. And then Red Riding Hood shows back up and she's like, well, hey, what's up? And she's totally fucking obnoxious. And then Bugs is like, oh, fuck this bitch. And he takes the wolf out from under the pile and puts Red Riding Hood under the pile. And then he and the wolf kind of are like having like a bro moment, like eating carrots. Like, yeah, we put one over on this fucking loudmouth bitch.
Yeah. We killed that
we killed this
little
kid,
girl.
that kid.
Yeah,
but the kid
we tortured her to death.
The kid's annoying, so you get it.
Yeah, she deserves to die. What was the film that you said? You said a film that's like a bunch of vignettes or something. The film that you referenced,
Phantom of Liberty.
Phantom of Liberty. I just love like you. Like at a pitch meeting, just being like, "Well, I'm thinking of referencing the Phantom of Liberty." Like, and they want to do this.
Everybody's like, "Get this guy out of here!"
Yeah, exactly. That's so funny. It's like, I think I want to reference El Ángel Exterminador, the Louise Brunel film. Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah, the Exterminating Angel. Yeah,
exactly. I've just been thinking about that movie a lot lately. About how maybe I want to rewatch it.
Did you ever see Los Olvidados? That's another Buñuel movie about Mexican street kids.
No.
Great. Probably maybe one of his best.
Is that before or after? Exterminating Angel is 1962.
It's around the same times, because this is when he was working in Mexico. So he had that whole run while he was in Mexico, and that's part of it.
Did you ever see that movie called... You brought up street kids. Did you ever see Pichote? It's like a Brazilian film from I think 80 or 81. Mm-mm. And it's you got to watch. This is like a big recommend. Like, okay. This is like it's Pixote.
Okay.
And the director, I mean, you're not going to probably know who the director is, or maybe you will. Do they even say it? Yeah, they do. Who the fuck is this? Hector Babenco. Hector Babenco.
Okay.
Do you know who that is?
No.
Okay. Well, it's fucking by Hector Babenco, okay. And this is a big fucking deal. This movie, like you're gonna be happy you saw it, and you're also gonna be kind of like, why haven't I heard of this before?
Okay.
Because it's a big fucking.
Where did you hear about it?
I heard about it because it was referenced by Harmony Korine as one of his either biggest influences or just one of his 3 favorite films. He kind of gave like snarky answers. He was like the Pamela Tommy Lee sex tape, the 1995 Pamela Tommy Lee sex tape. Uh-huh. Something else, haha, funny, and then Pichote, because it's the most like just heroic, brave film that he's ever seen, and when you watch it, you'll see how it influenced the combination of like narrative and sort of documentary. Like it really gets blurred. It's a lot like you watch this and you're kind of like, oh, okay, that's where Gummo comes from. Like you watch Gummo and you're kind of like, I've never seen anything quite like this this kind of synthesis of like narrative and like documentary and kind of different just basically that balance between the two, and then you watch Pichote and you're like, that's exactly where it came from. But he's just kind of taken it another couple notches upward by using different kinds of cameras, and he does that also with Julian Donkey Boy, like using like 16 millimeter and but then also using video, like digital, or not digital video, but like I guess digital video, like camcorder video,
okay.
And just and mixing it all up and kind of trying to ride the razor's edge between kind of what, things that feel real and things that feel like just a scripted narrative. Mm-hmm. There's a scene in Julian Donkey Boy that I find that movie to be fucking exhausting. Like, there are some really good parts in it, like Werner Herzog talking about how much he loves Dirty Harry.
Okay, yeah, I feel like I don't think I've seen it all the way through.
It's a tough slog sometimes.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of value in it. Like there's just you have to kind of take it in sort of little like individual sections. Like the Werner Herzog kind of like abusing his like spraying his son with a hose in the driveway is just so funny, and just how Werner Herzog is supposed to be playing this like American, like kind of like macho kind of like American dad, but he's got Werner Herzog's voice.
Right.
The whole thing is just so funny. And then there's this part. My favorite part of the film is towards. I mean, it's not even like a spoiler or anything. It's not the kind of film where like a lot happens. It's just kind of just experiencing all this shit. But there's this part where this there's not really like plot twists or anything, but there's this part in Julian Donkey Boy where like this little girl who's blind is saying it's this little girl. It's like and it doesn't, and I think she actually is blind, but she's saying basically that like, yeah, you know, for basically my whole life, like I thought I could see, and then my teachers told me at blind school that I couldn't, and I was like, what are you talking about? I've been able to see this whole time. And she's like fully blind, and it kind of just makes you kind of be like, whoa, what the fuck was she thinking? Like, what was she? What did she think seeing was? You know, and I remember like being very like thinking that was pretty profound at the time. Actually, even today, I still think that that's a pretty good little thing that he caught, because that's one of those things that like you can't write. That's just something that you just leave the camera rolling, and then some little blind girl starts talking, and you're like, whoa! Like you just catch something fucking awesome. And I guess you've developed like this sort of loose structure of film where you can include it, you know, like and it doesn't necessarily go against whatever plot that you've decided this movie is going to have or something. Mm-hmm. So don't deliver us from evil. Look out! Look out! The children are watching. And then, one that I think that you mentioned that you're kind of due maybe for a rewatch is Bloody Birthday, which is a little.
Yeah, I remember liking it. I don't remember anything about it, but I do remember enjoying the movie.
Yeah, well, there you go, everybody. So those are three recommendations. The reason why I like Bloody Birthday personally is because of how like firearm focused it is. Like I like how these kids are. They're not like setting up kind of like. I mean, there is a little bit of like sort of choking people with skipping ropes and doing, you know, using sort of like kid stuff to kill people, but at the same time, there's also like a scene where. A prepubescent boy chases his teacher through an elementary school, with a revolver and shoots him to death in the school. Which is, I mean, I don't think they realized how fucking awesome that is, like at the time. But like just, you know, like having that movie exist and then being able to look back on it and just seeing this prolonged scene of just like a kid stalking his teacher through the school and shooting him down like in the hallways of an elementary school is a real treat for me.
Would The Pit be considered a killer kid movie?
Absolutely,
because it's sort of like he's luring other kids to the pit to, you know, for them ostensibly to be killed. So right. You know, he's not necessarily like chopping them up or shooting them, but he is leading them to their deaths. Yeah, I mean, he might as well be leading them into a pit of you know, rabid grinding tears. Yeah, or a pool full of piranhas or something. But yeah, that's a great movie.
Canadian movie. That's one of those tax shelter movies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Very, very bizarre performance from that main kid.
Yeah, he's clearly just on the verge of becoming a homosexual, and you see it happen on screen. No, I mean I didn't
notice that myself.
He's clearly gay. Like you could tell he's gay. And so like when they have sort of the kind of like sexual awakening scenes, they seem kind of funny because he's like, yeah, he's not going to be interested in the female babysitter.
Right. Yeah, he's just like, he's the babysitter's like sleeping in bed, and she's just got her top open, and her nipples are exposed, and he's sitting there with his fingers kind of like interlaced and his chin on top of them, just kind of like watching with kind of like a content smile.
I think I looked him up. And I think he became like a ballet dancer or something. So he's like full on gay guy, and you could tell even when he was a kid he was gay.
Yeah, hey, Twinkle Toes! Look at Twinkle Toes over here. Awesome. Yeah. So all right, cool. So The Pit, Bloody Birthday. I'm a big. I mean, we don't have a lot to say about that because it's not very fresh in your memory.
Yeah,
but
I got to rewatch it.
I think Bloody Birthday. Oh, I mean, Peixoto is the one to watch. If you
top of the list.
If you need to put something on, because this is like an actually like I mean, Bloody Birthday is like, you know, it's entertaining, but it's not like actually a good movie, you know. Kind of like I actually felt, because you know I was jealous of you having such a good time with The Substitute too. So I put that on. It's fucking trash, man. It's garbage. Like it's not even entertaining. It's stupid.
It's entertaining, but it's stupid.
Like, I guess not, like, and then I put on like the beginning of part 3, and part 3 is just
don't spoil it.
Don't spoil it. I mean, it takes place in college.
That's why I told you I couldn't recommend it, but I was like, I was entertained by it, but I didn't recommend it.
It's just so fake. It's like the way that they you know, like the kid who gets his radio thrown out the window, and then he's like. Treat Williams, just even the dialogue, you know, where he's like, where he's teaching them with like a yo-yo. It's all about perception.
You didn't like the scene where he breaks the black kid's orange soda with the yo-yo.
Yeah. He drinks his soda, and he's like, next time, bring enough for everybody, you know. And it's just like who wrote that and thought it was like impactful or even like a little bit interesting, you know? Like, it's so fucking retarded.
I love the sort of like white middle-aged Vietnam vet coming into sort of like 90s gangster culture high school and schooling the kids.
Yeah, I bet you do.
It's fucking hilarious.
It's good stuff. Like, I mean, I just feel like the original fucking Substitute is, I think, actually kind of a good movie. Did you know that that was actually written in part by Roy Frumks from Street Trash?
Oh yeah, I noticed that name. I think his name's on the second one too.
Well, based on characters created by.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you're actually right. I think that, I mean, fuck, you know, what the hell's Roy Frumks been up to? Like, he had a little bit of success with Berenger's The Substitute, and of course he's like, if you know, it's not like he's got anything else to do. He's going to jump on the opportunity to write the second, third, and maybe even the fourth. I couldn't get into the fourth.
Man, you really burned through him.
Well, I mean, the third one I just turned off because I was like, this is not what we're here for. You know, like we're here like, what's that? Is it Sidney Poitier, the inner city school? Lean on Me?
No, well, Sidney Poitier is just To Sir with Love.
What's
Lean
the one with
Lean on Me is Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman, my bad.
And How High is with John Lovitz.
Thank you. Like a rhinestone cowboy.
But that's what you should. If you don't like the Substitute series, then watch Stalked by My Doctor series. That I will recommend. High recommendation. I think there's 5 of them. Highest.
That's with Eric Roberts.
Highest recommendation. You'll enjoy all of them.
Have we talked about this before?
I think so.
Okay, so
I think you laughed. You laughed at me.
What are you talking about? Dude, I've been into that shit. I've been into that shit before I even met you. The Stalked by My Doctor shit. I've been up on that shit for a long ass time. But anyways, yeah, we should say goodbye now. Goodbye, everybody.
All right.